2020 now, and we're talking all about your 2024 year. You've dropped a book. Hello.
I mean, it has been a incredible year so far, and I definitely was not expecting to be dropping my first book, but here we are. I mean, it's really, really special for me because it's let me also look back on many memories while helping to write the book with Pony Mag, and it's really, I can't believe it, really.
I mean, how did that idea come about? Did you just wake up one day and think, I'm gonna write a book?
Most definitely. No, I'm not that good at English. I don't go to school enough. But I've worked quite...
I'm not sure if we should publicise that.
Yeah, maybe not. Never
Everybody
mind,
stay
guys.
in school.
But I've worked quite closely with Pony Mag for a good few years now. I do their Big Pony Days out. And then I was like, one day I was like, please can I do a book with you guys? And it kind of went from there. And they've been amazing to work with. And I mean, I'd definitely go check it out if I was you guys. It's on Pony Mag stands, yeah.
Is that where they can buy it, Pony Mag stand?
Yes, definitely. And if you see me around, I'm happy to take pictures or sign it or anything, so yeah.
I mean, obviously it's all about you and your dancing ponies. So is it just like an overview of where you've come from, how you're doing? Like, tell us a little bit about what it's about.
So it's pretty much about my journey from the beginning, because of course I used to do vaulting. If you don't know what that is, it's basically dancing on horses.
It's backflipping off a horse while it's moving.
Pretty much. I'm definitely not brave enough to do that now. But it's all about my journey in the sport so far, coming up from being only tiny on all the little ponies galloping around the arena. It's frightening for my dad, definitely. To where I am now with my horses competing and really going with the dressage career.
I mean, I know you're really going with your dressage career, but do you ever still keep up a little bit with your vaulting? Like, do you ever think, and I still do a cartwheel?
I did do that the other day, actually. But I have my...
I know you so well already.
My best friends, Millie and Evie Jessett, they are phenomenal at vaulting. They are, I would say, the best in Britain at the minute. And they're my best friends. So I still definitely follow the vaulting closely. I wouldn't say I'd compete in the vaulting anymore, but I love to have a little pop on whenever I can, and I help train their Molten Vaulting group as well, which is really, really happy because I like to see all like the people coming up and through like I once did.
I mean, you still keep your toes in it a little bit, but I know you said earlier that you're not brave enough for that sort of thing anymore. Do you ever look back at what you used to do and think, crikey, how did I manage that?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, I was doing jumps galore, I was standing backwards, I was doing back handsprings, I was doing everything, and I was like, how on earth did I make myself do that? But we used to have the most incredible coach called Julie, and she was one of those people that if she said you could do it, you knew you could do that, and that was definitely a massive influence in where I got to in the vaulting.
And I mean, we know how you got into dressage because it's quite literally in your blood with your
Definitely.
mum.
I couldn't have not done it.
Absolutely, like you were bred for it, darling. But how did you actually get into vaulting?
Well, fun fact, I was at the British Dressage National Championships, of course, and I was watching my parents there and they were doing a demo, and I saw it, I was like, oh my goodness, I really want to give that a go. It was incredible, I was starstruck. And then my parents were like, absolutely not, it's too far away, you could never do that. And then I got a voucher for it for my birthday and found out it was 5 minutes down the road. I mean, how convenient.
Too far away, your parents said.
It was definitely a cop-out.
Definitely an excuse, I think so. And do you ever look at Cracker sideways and go, I reckon I could do a handstand on you?
It was only the other day, so I competed him at the weekend and he won his classes. He is the best horse ever. And then the next time I rode him, I was like, you know what? I'm going to tie my reins like in a knot and canter around the indoor with no hands, and he just took it.
He was like, sick, this is great.
His poor owner Claire never knows what to expect with me.
Does she sometimes just turn up and find you doing random stuff?
Oh, definitely. She just sits there, has a phone out just in case I do something semi-impressive.
And then straight onto TikTok, Instagram, Facebook it goes.
Absolutely. All the slow-mos galore.
Do you know what? We do love a good slow-mo, and we love Cracker. Tell me a little bit more about Cracker. What's he like in the stable and stuff like that?
Do you know what? He's a stallion, but you would never know. He is the most honest horse I have ever met in my entire life. He is the most cuddly horse. He is so genuine, and to ride, he is the most trainable horse. And I mean, I think the fact that we're learning together, he's only 7, it makes it really special.
Yeah, and you've also got Nalina as well, and I see you post about her all the time. I can tell you love her so much. But
It depends what kind of day it is. Sometimes she's very naughty.
I was about to say, she's not been the easiest ride, has she? So, tell me a little bit about her as well.
I think the easiest way to say it, she is a typical mare. You never know what to expect. I think she's one of those mares which loves her work. Don't get me wrong, she is a massive grafter. She tries so hard, but you do not want to mess with her. You want to stay her best friend, that's for sure. But I think that's really nice because it means I have a really nice close partnership with her. She's one of those horses that you go into the yard and you can't go past her stable without, giving her a little cuddle or a scratch. Sometimes she accepts it. Sometimes she thinks she's too cool for her mum to be giving her all these cuddles.
That's an absolute mood. So is it a bit the case that sometimes, a gelding will give you his everything, but once you've got a mare on side,
it's the best. I mean, she's definitely not been easy. It's one of those days where you have to just remind yourself that she is a lovely horse. Take a deep breath and off you go again. She has chucked me off more times than I can remember. I have eaten sand so many times on her, but I think that makes it even more special when we get things right. I think I'm finally turning a corner. I mean,
you touch wood right now.
I hate to say it, but I think she's growing up a bit, but I might say that and then fall off next time I ride. You never know, so.
Well, that's the nature of horses. It's all swings and roundabouts, for sure. But, we always talk about your horses and what amazing string that you've got, but you're also actually still riding ponies at the minute, aren't you? Tell me a little bit about those little legends.
So I'm really lucky that I get to teach some really phenomenal little riders, and I absolutely love my teaching. I love training the next generation. Well, I don't know to say the next generation because I feel like I'm quite young.
The next generation.
But I absolutely love it. I get so invested in them. And I love the ponies. So there's one girl, Belle, who I teach, and she's a little bit too small for her pony, so I've been really lucky to help her train him, and he is so cool. I miss ponies so much.
That's for sure. And speaking of ponies, you've been to pony Europeans, normal Europeans, all the Europeans, so you are basically a Europeans veteran at this point. Do you ever still get nervous at all?
Oh, I mean, who doesn't? I get really nervous. I think it's one of those things you have to learn. I like to think that nerves are a bit of a waste of time. They take so much energy out of you and they don't help you. Of course, they're absolutely normal because they mean you care. But I try and put them into positive energy. I use them to learn my tests and stuff. And I think nerves just show that you care about what you're doing, which is super important.
Of course, and was it the same, tell me a little bit about your 2024 experience as well.
I mean, it's definitely, I had a mare called Bella who was the most incredible mare, but she got very nervous in the arena, so it was a massive thing of building a partnership with her in such little time and being able to hold her hand around the arena. And the biggest thing with her is sometimes she didn't like to walk in the test. So for me, sometimes I get really nervous because I didn't know what was going to happen. I try and control the uncontrollable, which with the horses you could never do. So I think a massive thing with my frame of mind was getting it into the fact of, judges like different horses. You can't control what the judge is going to do. The only thing I can control is how I'm going to ride the test. And I think for me that was a massive game changer because the minute I thought that to myself, it changed the way how I rode the test. It changed how much I rode the movements, and I really went for it because instead of trying to ride it really carefully and stuff, I was like, you know what, let's just give it a go.
Let's just take these risks. And you know what, that actually takes quite a lot of bravery to do that in such a big setting. Because, it's not your local show, it's Europeans. And we also saw, because it looked like you had an amazing time, but my favourite video to come out of that, none of your riding, none of that.
The dad's dancing.
I love the way you knew exactly what I was about to say. How did that come about?
So it'd been the first day of competing, it had gone really well, and me being me, I was scrolling through TikTok and saw the good old TikTok dancers coming up, and I was like, right dads, come on, off we go, we're going to do the dance. And we had a massive speaker. Probably all the people in the camps next to us absolutely hated us because we had this TikTok sound on repeat because they were not very good at learning this dance. The coordination was not there. But it was really good. It showed the team spirit. So all the team riders and trainers, like their parents and stuff, they got involved with the dance, and it was iconic.
And I also love the way that you were the head choreographer for that.
Nearly pulled my hair out.
Yeah, were they not good students then?
They were good, but they weren't the best. It took a lot, you know.
So you're telling me that Gareth can learn a dressage test, no problem, and give him a TikTok dance, he's gonna have some issues?
He wasn't the best, but he swung his hips and he got involved, and he thinks he's a cowboy, so he thought he was very cool with that.
Do you know what? I love his enthusiasm. That is cracking.
He took a bit of persuasion, but as soon as everyone got up to do it, he was like, right, I'm going to be the best here.
Oh, so his competitive spirit came out.
Oh, obviously. If he was going to do it, he was not going to do a half job. He was going to do it well.
Absolutely. I mean, speaking of that competitive spirit, you know, if you're ever stepping into the ring, you're competing against your dad or your mum. How do you think that would go?
I never have, and the only time I was going to, my dad pulled out.
Yeah, he was scared.
Oh, definitely.
He knew you were about to show him up.
Oh, absolutely.
100%.
But yeah, no, I think the day that I do, there might be a bit of conflict in the household, but we'll have to wait and see. My dad might retire before that happens.
That made it sound like you were going to have a hand in that retirement there.
Absolutely. I might get his horses.
Do you know what? That's such a good idea.
The way to go.
The way to go. But speaking about your dad and your family, do you ever, because obviously you've grown up surrounded by dressage legends, I mean, even including your godfather, Carl Hester, do you ever feel a little bit of pressure, not necessarily from those people, because obviously all they want to do is support you, but do you ever feel a little bit of pressure from yourself sometimes, that you feel that you've got to live up to those standards?
I feel like this is a really common question. I would say a lot of people would expect the fact that I would have a lot of pressure, you know, from the fact that my dad has been to all the championships and stuff, and my mum has ridden up to Grand Prix, and I mean, Carl is Carl, isn't he?
Carl just needs no introduction. Carl's just Carl.
Carl is the man. But I think for me, they're such big supporters, and they wouldn't mind if I never did dressage. They wouldn't mind if I never did horses. And I think the biggest thing for me is the fact the support I have got, I'm so grateful for. And I think the only pressure I get is the pressure I put on myself to do well.
That's a really, really mature outlook to it. And do you ever get, you know, like, have you ever done like mindset coaching or anything like that to kind of help you with that?
I have definitely with the under 21s, you know, they have the coaches and stuff. But I think the biggest thing for me is getting myself in the right headspace, and I think it's learning it on my own. And I think every year is different because it's a different horse, it's a different way of going and stuff. And I think for me, before I compete and stuff, I just need the time to myself to get my own head in its own space, you know.
It's quite interesting because every rider that I have spoken to over the week, there's not been a lot mentioned about, you know, the physicality of this sport on the rider's point of view. A lot of the focus has been on the mental strain that this sport causes sometimes. It's really interesting that you focus so hard on making sure that mentally you are capable and ready to rock and roll.
Definitely. I mean, this sport is so hard mentally. You know, you never know what's going to happen when you go into those whiteboards. Horses are horses, aren't they? And I think the biggest thing for me is if it goes wrong, you just got to pick up your boots and go again. You know, it's horses. You can't control what they're going to do. And I mean, if you can't get over it going wrong at a local show, how are you supposed to get over it if it doesn't go well at Olympics, you know? And I think every horse is different, every year is different, every competition is different. You just have to keep going. And I think the mental side of it's really important, because I know if I'm not in the right space mentally myself, then how is my horse supposed to be in the right space?
Absolutely, absolutely. And do you ever have like a little routine, little thing you do before you compete? Like, give us a weird fact about you.
Well, this weekend I did do a TikTok transition before I competed, and I did win my class.
That was iconic, to be fair.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I think for me, I spend a lot of time by myself. I watch videos of training, I watch videos of competitions, you know, just watching how I ride every movement. Because I think in dressage as well, the biggest thing is a lot of people, when one movement goes wrong, they let that affect them for the rest of the test. And I think the biggest thing for me, I watch different tests and training, and I separate every movement in the dressage test, because if one movement goes wrong, that doesn't mean the next movements have to go wrong, you know. So I make sure I'm able to separate the test and know how I ride every movement, so I can move on and leave that. So I do that. I like to spend a lot of time with my horses. You know, the partnership's really important, and I make sure I have the right people around me as well.
Yeah, because quite often with like professional riders, for example, there's quite this common misconception that you guys just get given your horse, you ride, and then you go home?
My horses get so many cuddles.
All the cuddles. So do you spend a lot of the time off the horse, just in the stable, just loving them, cuddling them? It's quite good for building that bond.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for one, I do a lot with my horses, I think it's really important. And do you know what? I just love being with the horse in general. It's not that I feel like I have to, I want to. I love the sport, but most importantly, I love my horses individually, and I want to spend that time with them, it's really special. So yeah.
Yeah, of course. And I just want to talk to you as well about training. Obviously, there's always the, family can't teach family, because I know Mum's tried to teach me before and speak to me for a week afterwards. So how does that work with you guys? Because I feel like you're going to be hard pressed to find someone to teach you that's not family.
Well, I do at home a lot. My dad teaches me, and it works because I think the most important thing that we do is my dad is my dad when he's not coaching me, but he's my coach when he's coaching me, and I think that's really important to separate it. I don't treat him like my dad. I treat him like my coach. And I mean, if I treated him like my dad, he'd walk out. He did that once. I complained about my hands hurting at nationals, and he was out of that arena. He was not helping me. I was like,
he fully abandoned you.
I know, I need your help.
You just stood in the warm-up going, Dad, come back.
And I was like, please. So I think that's really important, and that relationship, it really helps, because it's not, you don't want it to affect your personal relationship with your parents as well, so it's super important to have that separation. But I'm also super lucky to train with Carl. I mean, that man is such a legend. You go to his lessons and everything just clicks. I mean, it's incredible, and I'm so fortunate to be able to have the opportunity to train with him, and I find it super important as well because I learn everything from Carl, and then I also love teaching myself, and when I teach other people, it makes me realise how many mistakes I make myself when riding.
Do you ever try and pretend you're like teaching yourself when you're riding on your own? What
absolutely.
would I tell me?
Definitely, because I mean, especially teaching has made me way more aware, because I scream at my pupils for not riding a 20-metre circle properly, and then I go and I'm like, I'm doing a horrific job. I mean, I've ridden a Grand Prix, but trust me, if I went back to Breedlem, I'm getting no marks. So yeah, I think it's really important because also instead of just riding, it makes me just stop, take a breath, and be like, actually, what am I doing here? And I think that's super important.
Because sometimes when something's going wrong, you'll just keep doing it again and again and again, and stopping and taking that breather makes you just reevaluate how you're approaching the problem.
Definitely, and I think the biggest thing that it makes me do is it makes my preparation much better, because when I'm teaching, I'm like, right, you've got to do this, and this is the result you're going to get. And I think then that's really important for me. So instead of riding everything the same, I think of my setup much more, and then,
and you're ready. Woohoo! And I also wanted to ask, is it true that Carl's Yard is fully like a petting zoo?
I am terrified of chickens, and that man has chickens everywhere. I'm like tiptoeing around the stables.
I feel like we need to unpack this. Why are you terrified of chickens?
Have you not seen the way they walk? And also, my dad has told me so many stories about when he was younger and he had a chicken which chased him, and ever since then I've been terrified. But the thing is with Carl, you'll be having your lesson outside and suddenly a peacock will hop over the hedge, and I'm more terrified than my horses.
Fair enough. To be fair, if the peacock just jump scared me, I would be pretty worried as well. But obviously, you've grown up with Carl. So when you were younger, was he just Uncle Carl? Was there ever a moment of realization oh, this man's big cheese?
Oh, trust me, I've always been in awe of Carl. I was really lucky when I was younger. My mum would have a lesson, I'd be able to toodle around on my little 13-2 pony while he's teaching her, But he's been incredible from the beginning, and he's been a massive role model in my riding. Whenever I ride, I have the picture of his riding in my head and how I want to look on the horse.
Sometimes you ever pretend to yourself, I'm just going to be Carl before you go into this arena?
I mean, if that could happen, if I could ride like Carl, oh my goodness, I think I'd retire.
I've tried it before and my back just went really tense. I tried way too hard, trust me. But going into the freestyle tonight, will you be watching and trying to absorb as much information as you can? Like, do you find you learn a lot from it?
Oh, definitely. I mean, looking at those riders, you know what they're doing, and I think it's really important that you see the separation of all the movements, you see the preparations. I mean, they use every single corner. I mean, they're not leaving any of the arena out, and I think it's really good for me to watch and see how they ride and see how they prepare and stuff. And I think for me, it's really educational. I think I'm so excited to be able to watch all the class because it's so many different horses. It's, you know, I think it's going to be really, really interesting, and I think it's going to be a spectacular night.
I mean, are we going to be seeing you here in London soon?
It has been the biggest dream ever. I really want to compete at London. It is literally my dream show. So hopefully one day, if I'm good enough, I'd love to.
Yeah, it's such your Olympics. You want to be at London. And speaking of the Olympics, do you happen to have your eye on 2028? Because, I mean, you officially made it to Grand Prix. You are here. You are ready to be seen.
I mean, I'm not saying no, but I think the biggest...
Yeah, if it's on the table, you'll take it.
I'll take it, you know, I'll take a trip to the Olympics, you know, don't get me wrong. But I think the biggest thing for me at the minute is I really want to focus training my horses, and I think if I have the right horses, the right training, the right coach and stuff, and I stick to my path, then I think we'll see.
We will see. Well, hopefully we shall see you there. But what is next for you? You've had such an amazing year. I mean, you've got a whole book out that people can buy from Pony Mag. So what is next? A Ruby Hughes movie?
Oh yes, I'm going to be the main star.
Netflix, here we come.
But yeah, no, I think the biggest thing for me is it's been a massive change in my riding, because all of a sudden I'm not riding my parents' experienced horses, you know, I'm learning to train my own. So I think next year is going to be a massive step up in my riding, because it's not just being able to ride a test, it's being able to hold a horse's hand around the test and being able to teach them. And I think for me that's going to be really important, because it's going to really change how I ride, and I think for me that's a massive, it's going to be really exciting. I've got some good horses, so hopefully I can do it.
And I'm so loving seeing your journey on social media. Is social media something you're going to be keeping up? Because you are actually becoming, well, like I said before, quite the celebrity.
Thank you. I mean, I love it. I love all the support I get from social media, and I think the biggest thing for me is I know when I was younger, I loved following people on social media, and I love seeing the behind the scenes. And I think for me that's super important to be able to share with people younger than me or older, whoever wants to watch, and just see how my journey evolves. And for me, I think it's really exciting, because then I get to be able to look back at myself and see how much I've improved, and that for me is really, really special.
Well, as an inspirational person, you are giving everybody a little inside look into the life of Ruby Hughes. Thank you so much, Ruby, for speaking to me today. I think we do have some time for some audience questions for Ruby.